All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for Rising Wednesdays. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about three different career paths that tend to be pretty similar. And so we'll be diving into some of the nitty gritty of what's the difference between an MD degree versus a DO degree versus a PA. I'm Angeles Almaraz. I'm the Network and Training Manager with PhD. And Ale will actually be diving into a lot of this information. Once again, we invite you all to shoot any questions in the comments or email us any questions, and we'll go ahead and answer those for you.
Thanks so much, Angeles. I am so happy to be here with all of you to explain this. It's been like 6 years of accrued information that I hope to dispense in just like 20 minutes. So feel free to shoot any questions. By no means is this going to be like an expert discussion or like really thorough nitty-gritty overview, but we will do our best. Also, I wanted to say happy First Generation Student Week. If you could go to the next slide, Angeles. So we know the struggle is real, okay? You've had to figure it out on your own, but you belong there, you're thriving, you're doing it, okay? So I know it's confusing and overwhelming as it is figuring out undergrad, let alone what comes next, but we're gonna go over how to navigate different graduate school processes, understanding the different allied health programs that might be out there, how your specific status might affect your ability to complete the prerequisites, the application, exams, field experiences like clinical rotations and residency programs. On to the next slide. There's more than a dozen different levels of education, from like post-high school certificates to doctoral degrees, in which you can explore different healthcare careers. Today, Angeles and I will cover some of the ones where we receive the most questions. So again, just to reiterate what she said, please email us or feel free to post your questions here live. So next, we'll go over some of the ones that you may not have heard of. Just a brief overview, because I was seriously a grown adult before I ever heard of them, okay? There's audiology, respiratory therapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, dietitian, chiropractor, speech pathologist. And these are things that are careers that we typically don't hear about. So I just wanna throw that out there, that it's not just, nurses, PAs, MDs, and DOs. But the ones that we'll cover are those ones that you may have heard of, so that you at least have a good foundation. So the next slide covers a little bit about what the differences or the similarities might be between DO and MD programs. This is for you to have and kind of reference in your own time, but we'll go over some of the terminology. So DO is the Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine, and MD is the Allopathic Medicine, or the Doctor of Medicine that you may have heard of. And these are basically just the initials that go after your name after you complete those 4 years of graduate medical school. The next slide. This one covers allopathic. So you may have heard of allopathic being the term used as for conventional medicine, mainstream medicine, Western medicine, orthodox medicine, or even biomedicine. So this is just a terminology. And in order to become an allopathic doctor or an MD, you go on after you're earning your bachelor's degree in whatever field you want to. It could be music, it could be Spanish, it could be anything, not just science related, as long as you get your prerequisites done for medical school. And then you complete your allopathic medical program. Throughout that, there's different board exams. You may have heard of them as step 1 or step 2 or step 3. They're also called the USMLE licensing exam. And prospective doctors are able to take this typically at the end of the second year. There are some programs who have a slightly different timeline, but typically it's during their second year. Afterwards, after the 4 years of the medical program, they go on to residency programs. And then they can continue by becoming a specialist in their field. And then some of the treatment options on the next slide, it could be a medical intervention like surgery, radiation, or other therapies or procedures that are typically associated with allopathic or MD school. Some of the examples you may have heard of are anesthesiologists, cardiologists, dermatologists, internists, neurologists, obstetrician, orthopedics, pediatrician, psychiatrist, pulmonologist, and surgeon. And this is only a fraction of all the different primary care and specialties residency programs that are available. And next we'll cover a little bit about osteopathic medical school, or DO. This is not to be confused with OD, which is for optometry school. So osteopaths, they treat conditions just like MDs do. But on top of that, they also deal with manipulation and massage of muscles, bones, and joints. But it's the same sort of outline as MD programs. You know, they go on to medical school, they pass the same national board exams as all physicians do, and then they undergo the same residency training program as other MD doctors. And then in this next slide, it outlines again, you earn a bachelor's degree in whatever field you're interested and passionate about. You go on to osteopathic medical program, you'll get your physician's license, and you can again do the step 1, step 2, step 3 USMLE licensing exam, or you can do the COMLEX exam, which is also the DO's school version of the step 1. So in fact, it kind of seems like it might be a little bit tougher because they not only can do the DO step exams, board exams, but they can also do the USMLE licensing exam. And then they also go on to do a residency program and can become a specialist. As for PA, or physician assistant or physician associate, they go through less education, but just as thorough of an education that can help them take care of their patients themselves. So if you go on to be a PA, you might apply to the Central Application Service for Physician Assistants, the CASPA. I have a link here, and I posted it because I think not a lot of us know what that procedure looks like. And then they might also take the GRE or the MCAT, depending on the program. But again, on the next slide, you'll see you'll have to earn a bachelor's degree. You have to get enough patient care experience hours. There are some programs that want to see at least 4,000 hours of patient care experience, or it can be less. I don't know what you've heard, Angeles. Like one of my friends, she was an MA for 7 years. So that's how she got her patient care. Another one of my friends was a masseuse for, I think, 14 years. And I don't know, all the details about what that looked like, but that counted as part of the patient care. And so that's how they were able to log those hours. Have you heard of any of your friends kind of do different experiences to cover this requirement? Oh, Angeles? Do you know anybody who's gone on to do that PA program? Okay, I think she may not be able to hear. Anyways, and so then they go on and complete the PA program, they get that license, and they have to complete a national certifying exam. It's called the PAMS. So after that, they can practice, they can start practicing. And the next slide, this is a little bit more about the total time training. Here you'll see a nurse practitioner as well, which I will not cover in this chat today, but you can see that becoming a physician assistant can take anywhere from 6 to 6.5 years, while becoming a physician, whether it's a DO or MD, is at minimum 11 years, and it all depends on the residency that people are interested in pursuing. Now on to what it means if you're undocumented, or if you have DACA, or if you have TPS. You might see these terms if you go on to that medical school that you're interested in, that they are undocumented or documented friendly. And so that's really loaded because that can look in various different ways. Like here in the next slide, you'll see some of the California schools like Keck, Stanford, UC Davis, UCLA. Well, they'll have, documented friendly or undocumented friendly, or even something like international. You'll really want to reach out to the school to make sure that you understand what that means. Because for some, it's like they'll let you in, but they won't support you financially, which is a huge barrier for most people, in my opinion. So if you go on to reach out to the school, I would suggest maybe starting off with the center of diversity. That way you can get allies, you can get people who will ask the right people the questions that you have, who might get things started. And you don't have to wait until the year that you're applying to do that. You can do that, 2 or 3 years beforehand. Sometimes it's very slow to change policies in a school. So, I want you to not be afraid if the answer that they say today is, oh, sorry, we don't have a support system for you. A lot of the times it will be you who will be advocating for yourself, who will be doing the education, who will be leading the way. And you just kind of have to own that. I think a lot of students that we've talked to may say like, oh, I was really surprised that they didn't really have a lot of resources for me, or they didn't know who to guide me to. So it felt a lot like they were passing me back and forth, like the ping pong effect. And that just means that you're the one who has to be in charge, who has to tell them, this is what I need. And so that's why Angeles, myself, and Yadi are here to be able to act as a buffer. If you don't feel comfortable asking those questions just yet, or to advocate with you to get these resources started, so that it's not just a DACA or undocumented student friendly school, but that they really mean that they have the resources to support you. And so the next slide is just something that Angeles shared last week on our last Rising Wednesdays chat. I really liked it, how it's set up. It really is a great chart that talks about the different application processes. So I want you all to just keep that in the back of your head. And then, it also covers some financial aid information and clinical requirements. So you can keep that option or that kind of format as you do your own research. Again, like here is our contact information. Please don't hesitate to email us. I know it can be like really nerve-wracking to put yourself out there. So we'll be happy to act as a buffer between you and schools to answer your own questions. And if we don't have the answer, we will know somebody who does, and we'll help you look, all right? So please do not get discouraged. We're here with you. And again, next Wednesday, we'll be doing another chat. We'll be learning about more the difference between residency programs and clinical requirements. And that's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ale. You shared so much great information. And very brief, we're together for some 15-20 minutes. If any of this info sparked any questions, please feel free to email us. We are definitely here to help share some of this knowledge that has come to us and through us throughout the years. And for next week, just a little shameless plug. When we talk about MDs and DOs, if you all recalled and picked up on that information while Ale was speaking, they do require residency programs. And this sometimes poses a barrier for our students that are not protected under DACA or TPS. So it is something to consider. However, you do have the route of a PA, which may not necessarily require that residency component, but we will be chatting more about this next week. It has been, one of the biggest barriers as we think about these careers long-term and down the road, what employment looks like. So make sure to join us next week as we dive into a little bit more of this topic. I did want to address and point out one of the questions that came in through our Facebook Live comment feature regarding financial aid for undocumented MD students. A really, really heavy topic. I think it is one of our top questions that comes to us. For the individual that asked the question, please feel free to reach out to us. And we're happy to continue to chat and share some options. But for the folks watching, keep an eye out. We will make sure that that becomes one of our topics for Rising Wednesdays so that we're able to share this information to everybody else. And again, as we're talking, if any questions come up, please do reach out to us. Our emails were posted right here for Alejandra and myself. However, if you reach out to us via social media, whether that is Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, we are also very responsive on there. So thank you everybody for joining us. We wish you all with a great rest of your week.